as a leader, but I think that's probably my strongest quality is I'm a leader of men. Don't shy away from it and excited about it. And
just Saturday, our new head coach got rid of Frank, and frankly, I'm really kind of mixed feelings about it. So my opinion is we needed to move on from the head coach. It was a play calling situation, or it was a scheme situation, or it was something was wrong. But our offensive line was just it. It's like a high school team trying to go against an NFL team, and it looked like it badly. Now, with Jeff Saturday coming in as acting head coach until at least till the end of the season, him being a offensive lineman that played with Peyton Manning in that crazy high-powered offensive team, I think his first sense of duty is going to be straighten up the offensive line. He says that the starting lineup is still going to be the starting lineup as of right now. Sam Ehlinger is going to be the starting quarterback as of right now. But he had a lot of good things to say. The press conference that they had. So, I mean, he said that he was going to hold people responsible and of their duties. And he said that he was going to treat them as he would wanted to be treated as a player when he played, which was with respect, accountability, and he said he'd be their biggest criticism, the biggest person to bring criticism to them, and their biggest fan. He said a lot of good things, and I honestly believe the things he says. So he comes across as a very honest person, a very upfront, and he's to be more personal with people person. I don't think he's going to try to sell us a line of shit unless he is absolutely told to, and I'm not so sure that he would do it. He also was very quiet unless something was kind of dealt to them. I don't think they wanted him talking that much, but when he was asked a question, he was upfront and honest with it. Our owner and GM both. First off, Chris Ballard did not look very happy in his press conference at all. Our owner he needs to stay off the mic. He has a lot of and a lot of and a lot of I mean, it's just he seems to stumble across his words, almost like he's thinking about what he says before he says it, and after he says it, he hesitates to make sure he says the next word correctly, or maybe he thinks about it too much to make sure he's not following up with the wrong response. So it's like he's thinking of each word individually as he says them to make sure it comes across the way he wants it to come across. They did ask him about whether or not GM's plot was secure. And Ballard was not very happy with his response, I don't think. At the end of the conference, which it cuts off. So I looked all over online. I watched this live. I looked all over online, could not find it. But at the end of the conference, they were still recording. And it kind of panned across, and Ballard looked pissed. He looked irritated, aggravated, and just all of the above. Anything you could, he's like here, like almost red in the face, pissed. And I'm thinking it's the response he got. So, because he was asked, how can we believe that Ballard's safe when he just said a couple weeks ago that he wasn't wasn't thinking about and wasn't going to switch coaches, and we fired him. We fired Frank Wright. So he was asked that question. You said you weren't going to fire Frank. Frank Wright, but you fired him. So they asked if Chris Ballard was position was in jeopardy because you're saying it's not. How can we possibly believe you when you said the coach is, was safe? So Frank was supposed to be safe, but you got rid of him. So how can we trust his spot safe, or how can he trust his spot safe? And his answer was off the wall, not the answer. It was not the response to the question. He said the numbers. He said the numbers speak for themselves. Read it in black and white. I do not hire losing coaches. That's all he said. That's it. I'm like, what the fucking, what kind of answer is that? So he basically just did a little rope-a-dope. Everybody, it was obvious as fuck, didn't want to answer that question. I think that's what pissed off Chris Ballard. I think that's what pissed him off. But yeah, so that was an interesting turn of events. So that tells me that his job is not safe. He just didn't want to answer it because he did it correctly or any way that he thought that might come across the wrong way. He didn't want to say, hey, his job's safe, and then turn around firing him. So I don't think his job's safe. I think Chris all of a sudden is starting to sweat bullets. He's a little shitty because I guarantee you they had some conversations about it. But yeah, Jim Irsay is I don't know. He's playing with fire right now. I think he's kind of grasping and looking for a strong rope to grab a hold of to save this team, and he's got his hands in places he shouldn't have them in. This should be Chris Ballard, and now instead of Frank Wright, which, like I said, I personally think there need to be a change. And I don't have a problem with Jeff Saturday, but it should be Chris and Saturday's gig. This should be their place of business. They should be making the calls. This should not be so much Jim Irsay. So he needs to let them do their business, let them run it as they see fit to run it. He needs to answer questions, well, obviously when their questions are turned toward him, but he needs to let them do their job. Sounds like he's running everything behind the scenes, which is never good. It's never good. You have a GM that is really good at what he does. That's the reason why he is the GM. You got a head coach that you've chosen because you think he can do the job. Let him do the job. Do not get intertwined with, with the everyday business, or I shouldn't say business, everyday calls or everyday just process of the team. Don't get your business mixed in with the everyday decisions that the coach and the GM has to make. Because what you're doing is you're causing business and gameplay to get intertwined. And they need to stay away. Stay away. Jim Irsay needs to do two things. Stay off the mic because he does not know how to speak, or he thinks about it way too much. And let Chris and Jeff Saturday, take care of this. I mean, he's got to let it happen. And then he has to make a decision somewhere down the road if he chooses not to keep one of them. But he needs to keep his hands out of the jar. But there was a lot of things said. I'm going to post some of them here toward the end of this video. But yeah, that was definitely interesting. I believe, though, Jeff Saturday is going to get a handle on the offensive line. I really do. And, if he sees something on the defensive line, he will speak up. That is his forte. And that's where our problem is at the moment. So I believe he's going to get that wrangled up and taken care of. As far as play calling, I heard it somewhere, and it might have been on ESPN, but wherever I heard it, I agree. I think Matt Ryan should make the play calls. He is very familiar with all the secret wording, the language, the signals, however you want to say it. He is well aware of how to call things in this offense. So I think maybe, maybe Jeff Saturday should be kind of talking to Matt about it. Obviously, there should be somebody talking to Matt about what they want to see, and then Matt needs to translate that onto the field. But that has to be done quickly. So they may have to trust Matt's thinking and his experience behind, the center on what call to make. So there may be times that he has to make that call, and they need to trust him with that. So I think that's where that's going to go. I personally think this is a good move. I do. He's probably not going to be the coach next year. This is a situation where we have very little chance of making the playoffs. We've been very ugly all season. You have to apologize. I apologize. I just got off work, got changed, and came in to do this video, so I do apologize. I know I haven't said it yet, but if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please, hit that bell and subscribe. Leave a comment. I will read them, and I will answer anything that I can. So, but there's a lot of stuff I know that I'm forgetting I was going to say, but I want to get this out there to you, my thoughts on the situation, and I'm going to leave some videos in between, and at the end of this, if you didn't catch it, hopefully I've caught the bits and pieces that you wanted to hear. There was a comment made by Jim Irsay saying that he doesn't know how to make sausages, because he does not play in sausages. However, he does know how to run a football team. So, but Saturday also said that he knows this is all about winning. His game plan is to win. So, and they say this is not them throwing in the towel by hiring Saturday. This is all interesting. I am not going to say it's a fucking mess, and I'm not going to say it's a chaotic, the house is burning to the ground mess. This is why they did it. Forget all that. Let things play out. We're obviously probably not going to make the playoffs. I'm good with it. We need to keep Sam Ehlinger in. We need to keep him in playing, directing the offense. I believe, because we're not going to get a number one pick out of this. We're not. Regardless, we're not going to get the number one pick. Even if we lost every single game from here on out, we're not going to get it. So I don't want them trying to think, hey, we'll see if we can sneak in and get a quarterback. We have a quarterback. We're going to be probably a six round quarterback next year. Maybe fifth round. Is it really worth getting rid of Sam to get that? Probably not. So let's see how this plays out. We have Matt Ryan for at least another year. If Sam ends up falling on his face and he doesn't improve and he just crashes, just bottoms out, then put Matt back in. All right. But anyways, I need to get some sleep because I work nights. Please leave a comment. Tell me what you think, and enjoy your day. Thank you very much for listening.
Chris, where you see your role in this season to this point has been a disappointment, and were you on board with the benching of Matt Ryan and the firing of Frank?
So I think you know me well enough, all of you. Like I don't sit here and act like I don't share some of the blame. Damn right I do. But I also know that we got 8 games left, and I'm not just ready to fire the towel in like everybody else. I mean, the world's going to fire the towel in on us. We're not throwing in the towel. I talked to the team today, talked to the coaches, visited with Jeff, and we'll move forward. Frank, Mr. Irsay, and I visited about the Matt decision. That was all of us together. What was the other one?
The decision to fire Frank.
Yeah, Mr. Irsay and I had a long talk, here over the last, 12 hours. We had a long talk, here over the last, 12 hours, late last night. And when we decided to move forward, that's what we did. And I talked to Frank this morning. Mr. Irsay, talked to Frank, and then I talked to the team, and then I talked to the coaching staff. Not easy, especially with Frank and I's relationship. And it's one where, look, we both know that we haven't been perfect by any stretch. And, it was a hard day. It was a hard morning.
Chris, you do have 8 games left, but, this team looks as far away as it has ever looked in your tenure.
Yeah.
What is going on? When you put this team together.
I sure did. Defensively, I would tell you we're playing pretty good football.
That is true.
Offensively is where we gotta make some hay. We've not played as well up front as we need to play, and I think you all know as y'all have been kicking the shit out of me for years for not drafting wideouts, and all of a sudden I look up and we're underperforming on the offensive line right now, and that's got to take another. That's got to improve. That has to improve, and then the turnovers during the year. That you just look at it. We're turning the ball over, and we're turning it over inside our 50. I think we had 9 inside the 38, 11 inside the 50. You can't win games turning the football over in this league. 2 things: you can't win when you don't block, and when you turn it over. It makes it hard.
Jim, when was the first time you thought about calling Jeff for the interim head coaching job?
Turns us down, driven by what Chris and I see in his excellence and his readiness and who he is. If he turns us down, we're not here today.
Who's your quarterback on Sunday? Who's your left tackle?
Yeah, Sam will be the quarterback, and Raymond will be still left tackle.
What do you want to say to fans, Coach, Saturday? It's been a crazy 8 weeks, and here we are. I mean, this is just bizarre what's happening right now. What do you want to say to fans, you and Mr. Irsay? What do you want to say?
Yeah, I'm excited about the opportunity. I hope they are, right? I hope they know how much I care about this organization, about this community as a whole. I mean, my adult.
What do you want to say?
Yeah, I'm excited about the opportunity. I hope they are, right? I hope they know how much I care about this organization, about this community as a whole. I mean, my adult life was built here, and I don't diminish this opportunity even the slightest, even if it is for 8 games and everybody wants to run me out of town. Like, I believe that I'm called for a reason, and I would not have accepted it without that. And
The numbers don't lie, as we always say in the locker room. You are who you are. You are what your record is. But it was time, and I am very excited to have, as Chris is, to have Jeff here and next to me as the interim head coach. Just couldn't be more thrilled about having him here. And yes, he is fully experienced enough. Yes, he is fully capable. He's extremely smart. He's extremely competitive. He understands the game. He's a guy, and he probably won't mind me telling this story. It's the night before the Super Bowl. We're playing the Bears, and you guys knew Howard Mudd. So Jeff meets with the offensive line, sees Howard, and says, "Howard, we don't want to zone block them. We're better than that. We can man block them." And Howard looks at him, and says, "Well, Jeff, who am I to disagree with you? You're one of my greatest players ever. We'll man block them. The rest is history." That goes on and on with this guy. Hey, we can't block Trevor Price against Denver. We can't block him. Jeff said, "I can block him. We'll move him to guard for 1 game." He blocked him. You want to bet against this guy? Put your money down, people. Love to see it. Love to see it. Because I know what he's about, and so does Chris. And yes, there's a maturation curve. Shula was 32 years old. He had 3 nondescript years with the Detroit Lions before he took over the reins in 1963. No, the game is not different. We don't build rockets to go to Mars. We're not nuclear scientists. That is none of our jobs here. We don't expect anything more than we expect from ourselves. I'm not going to ask anyone to do something I haven't done, all right? And neither is him, and neither is him. I mean, that's the way we operate. And so be ready for the Raiders, how we're going to deal with that. But, again, couldn't be more excited. And we will, I'll open it up for questions. Obviously, you'll have some for Chris and Jeff or me, and please fire away.
Jim, this move is unprecedented in modern football. We all know what Jeff means to the city.
With our franchise. Now, I'm glad he doesn't have any NFL experience. I'm glad he hasn't learned the fear that's in this league. That's because it's tough for all our coaches. They're afraid. They go to analytics, and it gets difficult. I mean, he doesn't have all that. He doesn't have that fear, and there was no other candidate. We were fortunate that he was available. To me, I know people can, look out and see it and ask that question, but that doesn't surprise me. I understand. I don't know how to make sausage. I don't know what goes into sausage, but I do know how to build a football team because I've been around for 52 years. And from all the people, from Paul Brown to Don Shula to sitting with Ted Marchibroda and understanding what you do during a week for preparation, I understand that, and I understand that he's fully capable of doing this, and more than capable, and that no, it wasn't offered to anyone else together.
Can you clarify? Is this? Do you mean for this to be permanent?
Well, there's no talk of permanence at this point, because that's, right now it's an interim head coaching position.
You know yet?
Yeah, I haven't made a decision yet, but I've interviewed guys, and I'm going to continue to interview guys on the staff and going through that. And I'll decide something this evening. But it's I'm drinking from a fire hydrant a little bit, so we're just we're trying to meet with everybody, get this done, and then I'll continue that part. But we'll have a decision. I've met with the offensive staff. I haven't had a chance to meet with the defensive staff, but I met with the entire staff and then already a few guys, and I'll continue that through the night and come to a conclusion, and we'll roll from there. Listen, the great part about this, and I'll just say this, is there are fantastic coaches on this staff and men who have done this a long time. There's former head coaches, but there are guys in that offensive room who have called a lot of games and a lot of plays, and there's a lot of men who have put a lot of time into this. So I have no fear. I will pick the right guy, and we will ride with it. So, I'm excited about the opportunity. I'm just trying to get a grasp of what their, what their needs would be for them and how I can support them in doing that, and we'll make a move.
What was your reaction when you got the call from Mr. Irsay that you're going to be running this?
Yeah, shocked would be an understatement, right? Shocked would be an understatement. So, we had the conversation, and it escalated quickly. He asked me, my wife Karen, and he said, "Hey, will you go have a conversation with your wife and make sure that she's on board?" And my son Josh still lives with us at home, and you have that conversation. And he told me he was going to meet with Chris about it, and.
And Chris and I knew she's the most important woman.
That's exactly right.
Thank you, Karen.
And so we had the conversation. We talked about it and prayed about it, and then as the day progressed this morning, we finally came to a conclusion. But it was a 12-hour whirlwind. And Mr. Irsay keeps later hours than I do, so it was late. It was a late call. I mean, it was, and like I said, we had those conversations. I spoke to Heath and I spoke to Chris, and both for a good length of time, and just had real come to Jesus conversations. What do you think? And listen, if you think I was surprised I'm gonna get asked, I haven't been a coach. I wouldn't. That'd be silly, right? So I knew going in what the expectation was going to be, the questions that were going to be asked, and I feel fully capable, excited about the opportunity. 8 games to, listen, here's a great part about my career. I came in, nobody expected anything. I'm here, nobody expects anything. If it goes well, hopefully it'll go extremely well. But I have no preconceived notion that I'm going to be some spectacular anything. I know I got to work hard, and I'm auditioning not only for this one, but for 31 others, just like everybody else in this game. And make no mistake, man, the job is win. And I know that's what I'm here to do, and how can I arm the guys in that locker room, and how can I arm those coaches to be the best they can be? Because again, I believe in them. I wouldn't be here if I didn't, and that was made clear to both Jim and Chris. If I didn't believe in the guys in the room, if I didn't believe in the guys in that locker room, I wouldn't show. When Peyton retired from Denver, I spent some time with John Lynch, and I remember John, he was going to move over into the general manager, and he told me that for 5 or 6 years he had been going through this practice of, if I were to put a team together, what would I do? And so I thought about it from the coaching perspective. So every year I've done a sheet of who I think the best OCs are, who the best DCs, who would be great consultants, who are people you'd want in your building. And so I've done those exercises. And so I felt, but when I asked him, he specifically said, man, your leadership, right? I don't have, and I've learned a lot, and I've gleaned a lot, and I continue to try to grow as a leader, but I think that's probably my strongest quality. As I'm a leader, I'm in, don't shy away from it, and excited about it, and that's my passion.
I'm sorry. Chris, you're a very methodical person. This is very, very, very out of the box. What are your thoughts on this? What was your first reaction to the idea? Just can you elaborate?
Well, after the game yesterday, Mr. Irsay and I visited, and it was spirited, like they can be, because we're both passionate about what we do. And then last night when I arrived back in Indy, we talked about Jeff. Now understand, we've tried to hire Jeff a couple times. We tried to hire him in 2019 as the offensive line coach, and we tried to hire him again, this year. Just didn't work out. The timing didn't work out. So, and I've spent a lot of time with Jeff over, like I have a few of the ex-players here, and it doesn't take long to figure out that he's got real leadership in him, real special in that regard. And for this game stretch and where we're at, we thought he was going to be a really good fit for us.
Jim, with